we started thinking about the price of coffee, which, let's be honest, is a very important topic. But that led us to a much larger conversation about the global food system and all the challenges it's facing. And because the global food system is constantly in flux, each point we'll discuss stems from current events and real-time updates, ensuring the information remains timely and useful. Because, let's face it, the situation on the ground can change faster than the price of, well, coffee. So buckle up, grab your thinking caps, and let's dive into the complex, fascinating, and frankly kind of concerning world of the global food crisis. Let's start with everyone's favorite morning pick-me-up coffee. Now, you might have noticed your daily cuppa getting a little pricier lately, and it's not just inflation. Coffee plantations, particularly in places like Brazil, are facing some serious challenges from extreme weather conditions like droughts and unpredictable rainfall. And it's not just the beans themselves. Remember, coffee has to travel a long way from those plantations to your mug. We're talking ships, trucks, warehouses, a whole logistical network that is vulnerable to disruptions, whether it's a pandemic-induced slowdown or a good old-fashioned traffic jam. This combination of factors has led to some pretty wild price swings in the coffee market. One day it's a luxury. The next, it's practically a steal. This volatility makes it tough for both coffee farmers trying to make a living and for roasters trying to keep their businesses afloat. So, what can we do? Well, some roasters are starting to diversify their sourcing, looking beyond the traditional coffee-growing regions. And for us coffee lovers, maybe it's time to start thinking about our coffee consumption habits and planning ahead, like stocking up when prices are reasonable. Diversification is crucial in the coffee industry. It's about the types of coffee being grown. Different varietals have different resilience to pests, diseases, and climate change. Growing diverse beans creates a safety net for farmers and the global supply. It's like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but with caffeine. Now let's talk about sugar. The sugar industry faces complex challenges too, from climate change to consumer demand shifts. Coffee and sugar are interconnected in the global food system. When one thread unravels, it affects the entire system. All right, let's talk sugar. Now, sugar is everywhere, right? It's in our coffee, our cereal, our desserts. It's practically ubiquitous. But what many people don't realize is that a huge chunk of the world's sugar comes from just two countries, India and Brazil. And guess what? Both of these sugar-producing powerhouses have been hit hard by climate change in recent years. We're talking droughts, floods, unpredictable monsoons, the whole shebang. These extreme weather events have wreaked havoc on sugarcane crops, leading to lower yields and, you guessed it, higher prices. But it's not just about the weather. Geopolitical factors like trade disputes and export restrictions can also impact sugar prices, making the market even more volatile. And this volatility has a ripple effect throughout the entire food system. Think about it. Sugar isn't just a sweetener. It's a key ingredient in countless processed foods and beverages. So when sugar prices go up, so do the prices of all those other products, from your favorite soda to that jar of pasta sauce in your pantry. So what can we do about this sugar situation? Well, for starters, some food manufacturers are exploring alternative sweeteners like stevia and agave nectar. These alternatives, while not without their own environmental impacts, can offer some flexibility in a volatile market. But for us regular folks, there are some practical steps we can take too. One thing to consider is stocking up on sugar when prices are reasonable. Now, I'm not saying you need to build a sugar bunker in your basement, but having a little extra on hand can help cushion the blow of future price hikes. And speaking of storage, it's important to store sugar properly to prevent it from clumping or attracting pests. A cool, dry place is ideal, like a pantry or cupboard. And if you're feeling really ambitious, you can even vacuum seal your sugar to keep it fresh for even longer. But beyond these practical tips, the sugar crisis, much like the coffee crisis, highlights the importance of understanding where our food comes from and the challenges it faces. Because when we become more aware of these issues, we're more likely to make informed choices that benefit both ourselves and the planet. So, we've talked about coffee and sugar, but let's move on to fresh produce. Those fruits and veggies are the foundation of a healthy diet. They're vulnerable to supply chain disruptions, I know, supply chain sounds boring, but stick with me. Droughts, floods, and bizarre weather patterns impact growing seasons. These affect getting strawberries from the farm to your fridge. Unlike coffee or sugar, you can't hoard fresh produce. Fresh produce has a short shelf life. So what can we do? Diversify our diets a bit, maybe explore heartier options, things that can be stored longer, just in case. Speaking of storage, remember our grandparents, the ones who survived, like actual wars and stuff? They knew a thing or two about making food last. Canning, pickling, drying. These aren't just quaint traditions, they're survival skills. And honestly, they're kind of fun to learn. Plus, there's something incredibly empowering about growing some of your own food, even if it's just a few tomato plants on your balcony. It's like a tangible connection to where our food comes from, and it gives you a new appreciation for the farmers who are out there battling the elements to keep us fed. But look, I'm just a guy on the internet, right? I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I do think it's important to talk about these things, to acknowledge that the systems we rely on are maybe a little more fragile than we realize. Because at the end of the day, food security is about more than just having enough calories to survive. It's about having access to the foods we love, the foods that connect us to our cultures and our families. And it's about making sure that everyone on this planet has the ability to put a decent meal on the table. All right, let's talk dairy. Milk, cheese, yogurt, staples for many of us, right? But what happens when those staples become less, well, stapley? The dairy industry is facing a perfect storm of challenges, from rising feed prices, thanks climate change, to labor shortages, it's a tough job, folks, to increasingly strict environmental regulations, which, good but also complicated. All of this adds up to higher prices and potential shortages down the line. So, what's a cheese-loving, yogurt-slurping human to do? Well, for starters, we can start thinking beyond the refrigerated aisle. Powdered milk, for example, might not be as glamorous as a latte with oat milk, but it has a crazy long shelf life and can be a lifesaver in a pinch. And hey, remember evaporated milk? Your grandma probably used it for her famous pumpkin pie. It's shelf-stable, versatile, and can be a good substitute for fresh milk in a lot of recipes. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, right? Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to go out and stockpile a year's worth of powdered milk, but maybe it's not a bad idea to have a backup plan, A few extra cans of evaporated milk in the pantry, a bag of powdered milk tucked away for emergencies. It can't hurt, right? Because here's the thing about these global food challenges. They often feel far away, like something that happens to other people, until suddenly, they're not. Remember the great toilet paper shortage of 2020? Yeah, nobody saw that coming either. Look, I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom here, but I do think it's important to be aware of the challenges we're facing and to take some simple steps to prepare ourselves. And hey, maybe in the process we'll learn some new skills, rediscover some old traditions, and even strengthen our connection to the food we eat. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what really matters? Okay. Let's dive into a topic that's near and dear to my heart, or at least my stomach: fish and seafood. As a species, we love our aquatic creatures, but our love is, to put it mildly, a little intense. Overfishing, pollution, rising ocean temperatures, we're putting a lot of pressure on our marine ecosystems, and the consequences are becoming increasingly clear. Fish populations are dwindling, coral reefs are bleaching, and the delicate balance of the ocean is frankly pretty messed up. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, you're going to tell me to stop eating sushi, aren't you? And look, I'm not saying that's a bad idea, especially if you're eating unsustainable, poorly sourced fish. But it's more complicated than that. Because for many cultures around the world, fish isn't just a luxury item, it's a primary source of protein, a way of life that's been passed down for generations. So, what can we do? When you're at the grocery store or even at a restaurant, take a moment to think about where your fish is coming from. Is it a species that's known to be overfished? Are there more sustainable alternatives? There are some great resources out there, like the Monterey Bay Aquarium's Seafood Watch program, that can help you make informed choices. And speaking of choices, let's talk about preservation. Remember all those cool techniques our grandparents used? Well, they work for fish too. Can it smoke it, salt it? These methods not only extend the shelf life of your seafood, but also add incredible depth of flavor. Plus, let's not forget about plant-based seafood alternatives. The technology is constantly improving, and who knows, maybe one day we'll have lab-grown tuna that tastes just like the real deal, but without the mercury and the guilt. Look, I'm not a marine biologist, and I definitely don't have all the answers. But I do think it's important to have these conversations, to be aware of the challenges facing our oceans, and to make choices that support a healthier, more sustainable future for everyone. Hey everyone, John Green here, and let's talk about nuts and seeds. You know, those little nutritional powerhouses we love to snack on? Well, they're facing some big challenges, largely thanks to our old friend climate change. Droughts, floods, and unpredictable temperatures are making it harder to grow these crops reliably. And it's not just the weather. Geopolitical instability, like trade disputes and conflicts, can disrupt supply chains and drive up prices. Remember the great cashew shortage of 2017? Yeah, that was a wild ride. The thing is, nuts and seeds are important. They're packed with protein, healthy fats, and essential nutrients. Plus, they're delicious. But as these challenges intensify, we need to be prepared. So what can we do? Well, proper storage is key. Keep your nuts and seeds in airtight containers in a cool, dark place to prevent them from going rancid. And hey, maybe consider exploring alternative protein sources that are less water-intensive, like lentils or beans. Just a thought. Now I know what you're thinking. John, you're making me anxious about snacking. But hey, I'm not saying you have to give up your trail mix entirely. Just be mindful of where your food comes from and the challenges it faces. Because here's the thing, the global food system is interconnected. When one part of the system is stressed, it can have ripple effects throughout. So whether it's coffee, sugar, or almonds, we need to pay attention. And that's why it's important to stay informed. Read up on these issues, support sustainable farming practices, and maybe even try growing some of your own food if you have the space. Every little bit helps. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We all need to eat, and we all deserve access to safe, nutritious, and affordable food. So let's work together to build a more resilient and equitable food system for everyone. Okay, let's talk about honey. It's sweet, it's delicious, and it's made by bees, those tiny buzzing creatures that are essential for pollinating our crops. But did you know that honeybees are facing some serious challenges? Colony collapse disorder, or CCD, has been decimating bee populations for years. This mysterious phenomenon causes worker bees to abandon their hives, leaving the queen and young bees to fend for themselves. And while the exact causes of CCD are still being studied, it's likely a combination of factors including pesticides, parasites, and habitat loss. And as if that wasn't enough, climate change is also taking a toll on honey production. Droughts, floods, and extreme temperatures can disrupt bee foraging patterns and reduce nectar production, leading to lower honey yields. So what does this mean for us honey lovers? Well, it means that honey production is becoming increasingly challenging and unpredictable. And as demand continues to grow, we could see prices rise and shortages become more common. Now I don't want to be, see what I did there? A downer. But the situation is serious. Bees are essential for our food system, and we need to do everything we can to protect them. So what can we do? Well, we can support beekeepers by buying local honey whenever possible. We can also plant bee-friendly flowers in our gardens and avoid using pesticides that harm bees. And on a larger scale, we can advocate for policies that protect pollinators and promote sustainable agriculture. Because at the end of the day, saving the bees is about more than just honey. It's about protecting our food supply and the health of our planet. So let's all do our part to be the change we want to see in the world. Get it? Be the change? Okay, I'll stop with the bee puns. But seriously, folks, this is important. Well, there you have it, folks. From coffee and sugar to nuts and honey, the global food system is facing some unprecedented challenges. But the good news is that by understanding these challenges and taking action, we can create a more resilient and sustainable food future for everyone. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more evidence-based insights on current events and trends. Stay informed and prepared. See you in the next video.